Carol Hart, and we're in the kitchen today because I want to show you how I make chocolate truffles. The first step to doing that is actually making what's called the ganache, which is actually the body or the center, the middle of your chocolate truffle. So let's get started. First of all, you're going to need some heavy whipping cream, 1 cup of that, and 14 ounces of chocolate. It could be bittersweet, milk chocolate, or white chocolate. I'm using bittersweet chocolate, and you want to make sure that you use a good quality chocolate. So you don't want to go for Costco's Best or Safeway's Finest. You want to have something like Scharfenberger, Dilettante, Guittard, Ghirardelli, something along those lines. And I happen to be using Scharfenberger. That's my personal favorite chocolate that's out there. And again, I'm using the bittersweet. And you're also going to need 2 tablespoons of a flavoring for your truffles. So that could either be an extract, whatever your favorite extract is, or it could be a liqueur. Now I want to actually separate or divide this recipe into 2 batches because I want 2 flavors and not just 1 flavor. So for me, I'm using vanilla extract, and this happens to be one that I made myself, but you can certainly use store-bought extract. You just want to be sure to use pure extract, not the imitation flavorings. And the other one I happen to be using is a liqueur, which is the Grand Marnier. So let's get started. Now I'm going to pour the cream into my pot, and I'm using a big 2-quart pot because I'm going to need room later to stir the chocolate. So that's why I'm starting with kind of a bigger pot. But you're going to just pour your cream in there, and then you're going to go to the stove, and you're going to put this on just slightly above medium heat. You want to keep stirring this. This is not one of those tasks where you can just put it on the stove and then just kind of go do dishes or something else, because if this gets boiling, you're going to have to throw it out and start all over. What we're wanting to do is heat it up to a scald point, and that's just that point before it starts boiling. And you'll see it because the surface kind of starts quivering, and we'll see that here. But we're just going to keep stirring now. This takes, I don't know, about 10 minutes. So be patient. Have yourself a glass of water or something close by to take care of yourself while you're doing this. Okay, we're starting to get real close now. And you can sort of see it gets kind of this frosty look around the edge. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but if I quit stirring, you can kind of see it's dancing at the bottom there. And that is done. So before it starts boiling, we're going to pull this off the stove and bring it on over here. Okay, so we're going to put the chocolate in now. And again, this is 14 ounces of chocolate. This happens to be bittersweet, but again, you could use milk chocolate, semi-sweet. You could even use white chocolate if you want to. But I think the bittersweet has a wonderful flavor to it. So we're going to get all of that in there. Yum! Just wipe that off. And we're going to start stirring, and you want to keep stirring until all of the chocolate has melted and you don't see any lumps anymore. And that goes relatively quickly, and it has kind of a little bit of a grainy look to it. It doesn't feel really grainy to the touch, but it does have kind of this grainy look, and that's nothing to worry about. It's all part of the texture of the cocoa butter as it's reacting to the heat, which causes that graininess, but it's not a problem. So okay, looks like we're all melted. Awesome. So now, since I'm going to have 2 different flavors, I want to put this in a measuring cup so I can divide it out evenly. If you were just doing 1 flavor, I would pour this whole thing into your container that you would be storing it in overnight. And it looks like we have 2 cups, so that means I need to put 1 cup in each of these. Just going to kind of keep looks about right. And so here goes the rest of it. All right, so what you will see, and again, not to worry, but you see kind of this, almost looks like an oil or something kind of on the surface, and again, that's that cocoa butter. And just stir it back in there. Oh, that feels right. Okay, so now I have different stirrers for each of these so that the flavors don't kind of contaminate one into the other. I'm going to put the vanilla, in my case, in here, and then just kind of stir it through. Wow, that smells good. Okay, and then my liqueur is in the other one. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let this cool a little bit, but before I put it in the refrigerator, I am going to give it just one more little stir to make sure that the liqueur gets all mixed in there well. And then I'm going to put this in the refrigerator overnight so it can get solidified, so we can roll it into balls. And I made a batch yesterday that we can roll into balls today, so we're going to move into the breakfast room to do that. Well, let's get on over there while we let this cool. Okay, we're in the breakfast room, and I have put some food safe gloves on because this gets rather messy. You don't have to do that, but I think you'll agree after you watch how this is done that you might just want to have those gloves. So here is a batch that I did yesterday, and I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but you'll notice that there's some like white on the top, on this surface. This is actually that cocoa butter that I was talking about earlier that kind of floated up to the top and solidified, and this is nothing to worry about. When you do your scooping, just roll that right into your ball and you'll be just fine. Now you can use a teaspoon if you want, like a heaping teaspoon, to gather up the chocolate to roll into a ball. I'm using a little mini scoop that's about 1 inch in diameter that I found at a local kitchen store. But again, the spoons work. So then I'm just going to come in here and just kind of scrape along the top to fill my ball. So I'm scraped it off here. Okay, so just you roll it into a ball and you get this you're looking for about a walnut size or a small walnut size ball, and then just put it on the tray. So let's do this again, just so you can kind of see how this is done. Again, roll it into a ball. Kind of, if it gets a little oblong, then just kind of shape it in your hands, and that's what you've got. So I'm just going to keep rolling all of this chocolate into little balls, and I'll probably yield about 30 of them, and in this, which is a half batch. So your full batch that we were talking about earlier, if you just did one flavor, would get you about 60 little balls. So I'm going to keep going on this, and when I'm done, I'm going to put the tray in the refrigerator and let that sit overnight, and tomorrow we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish these up. All right, so these ganache balls have been sitting in the refrigerator overnight, and so now let's go through the process of how we're going to finish these things up for chocolate truffles. Now the easiest thing to do, especially if you just have one flavor going with you, is to simply take one and roll it in either unsweetened or sweetened chocolate. And I happen to be using Scharfenberger's sweetened cocoa powder for this process, and you just roll it in here until it's completely coated, and that's it. Chocolate truffle. But if you want that nice chocolate coating that you see on professional chocolate truffles that you buy, well then you're going to have to dip the balls into tempered chocolate. So let's talk a little bit about what tempered chocolate is. Tempered chocolate is chocolate that has been melted, and then the temperature has been brought up to, if it's for dark chocolate, 115 degrees. If it's white or milk chocolate, 110 degrees. The purpose of bringing it up to that temperature is to melt out and stabilize the cocoa butter crystals that are in the chocolate. Once that temperature has been achieved, then you pull your chocolate off of the heat, and we're working with a double boiler system here, and you'll see that in a minute. But you pull it off the heat, stir it until the temperature comes down. If you're working with dark chocolate, that would be a temperature of between 86 and 90 degrees. If you're working with milk chocolate or white chocolate, that would be a temperature of 84 to 88 degrees. And so then once you're working with it, you want to keep monitoring your temperature as you go along, and when it dips below that low point of your working temperature, then you'll put it back on the double boiler. You don't have to go back up to those high temps anymore, just have to bring it back up to the tempering working temperatures that I mentioned at the end here. So we're going to go through this process. I've got some bulk chocolate. I'm very fortunate that I have a grocery store that sells good quality chocolate in bulk. And you need a lot of chocolate, so that's the most affordable way to go. You can certainly use the small little bars if you want, but a lot more affordable this way. This is Calibo chocolate, bittersweet, and these big chocolate chunks are really kind of hard to break down, even with a meat tenderizer or whatever. So the easiest way is to use a chocolate chipper. Now this thing you can find on Amazon, believe it or not, for $5.99. So if you're real anxious to do something like this, then check it out. But it's not about pushing down real hard. It's just about giving even temperature, even pressure, and rocking this back and forth. And you can see how easy it is to break this chocolate up. And you're going to need quite a bit. So you would keep doing that process until you've got a whole bowl full of chocolate that you're ready to melt. Now, this is a small kitchen, so I'm going to move this aside. Okay, so let's get this chocolate melted and tempered. Now I have water that's already at a simmering state. You don't want it boiling, but you want it simmering. And then the chocolate, and you can see I've got a whole bunch of bittersweet chocolate here. Wow, lots of stuff. So I'm going to put a whole bunch in to my top of the double boiler. And you want to put a lot in because you want to be sure that you've got enough depth of chocolate to completely submerge your chocolate truffles. So now this will go right on that surface. Let me get my paper towel. And I'm just going to keep stirring. You don't want to walk away from this. This is a definite requiring your constant attention kind of an activity. And we're just going to keep stirring this chocolate until it all melts. And once it melts, then I'm going to use my thermometer and I'm going to keep working it until we reach that high state. And for me, since I'm working with a dark chocolate, that will be 115 degrees. Okay, well, we're just moving through here. This process is going to take about 5 or so minutes for this much chocolate to be melting down. But you just kind of keep going, keep pulling from the bottom so you don't have chocolate just sort of sitting static on the bottom. Otherwise it might just burn, and once that happens it just is spoiled and you need to throw the whole batch out. So you just want to keep stirring. Now there are machines out there that you can buy to temper the chocolate for you and keep it at the workable state, but they are rather expensive. I mean, the least expensive ones are a couple $100s, and so I just decided for this video I would do it the good old-fashioned way, since most people don't have a chocolate tempering machine. Okay, so let's take a temperature, see where we're at. I'm not too fond of these digital thermometers for this, but it'll have to do because that's what I got. So I want to be sure not to touch the, okay, whoa, 116, we're definitely there. So I'm going to keep that water on a simmer just because we'll have to probably go back and forth as this cools off. Now professional chocolatiers have this cool little fork thing that they, you know, sit the truffle on and they put it in chocolate and then they flip it out, and they're able to do this with no muss and fuss. But I'll tell you, after years of trying to do it that way, I decided that I'm just going to do it with a skewer. So I stick a bamboo skewer into the truffle and roll it in the chocolate to make sure it's completely covered, and then there you go. Sometimes you need an extra bamboo skewer to sort of scooch it off. I do anyway. So I'm just going to slide it off, and what's going to happen, I'm going to get it down there. Perfect. You'll have a little hole, and you can either get a little bit of chocolate and cover that up, or what I like to do is simply get a piece, a little decoration. This is just some, confectionery decorations that I got at a cake shop, and put it over the hole. And then you've got this very cute decoration on your truffle. And that's also a nice way to identify if you have different flavors that you put in a box to give to somebody, then each of the different toppings would be a different flavor. So that's just another way to deal with it. And I tell you what, this is a messy procedure. Chocolate is messy, and you won't even realize, since it's kind of body temperature that you're working in, you won't realize you've got it on yourself. So you'll go to the bathroom to clean up, and you'll notice you've got chocolate all over your face because you touched your face and you had chocolate on your hands. It's just ridiculous. So just be aware of that. I know it sounds wonderful to be bathing in chocolate, but after a full day of this, you'll probably want one truffle and call it a day. So that's pretty much it. That's how we do it. Before we wrap up here, I just wanted to let you know, if you would like a printout version of the recipe and the instructions, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go into the description section of the video that's listed below, and you'll find a link to a PDF file that you can download. If you're looking at this through my blog, it'll also be in the description on this particular post for this video, and I've also created a new tab on my blog site that's called Recipes, and that link will be there as well. So just a final note, I just want to send out to Barb Newell, a good friend of mine, just big heaping thank you for teaching me how to make truffles over 20 years ago. And Barb, you started a tradition here in this house. We make truffles every year and give out for Valentine's Day, and we have you to thank for that. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody for watching, and have a good day.